it's Candace from the Bookends, and today I want to discuss the wrap-up of and results of the Booktube-a-thon. The Booktube-a-thon was a reading marathon put on by Errol Bissett and Raylene, and I took part in it. I was supposed to do a video of each day that I did the Booktube-a-thon, but unfortunately I couldn't film, so I only did day one, which is kind of a failure. But I did accomplish all the challenges and all of the goals I set for myself, and I just want to discuss what those were and what I read. So on day one, the first book that I read was The Sky is Everywhere, and that was 288 pages. I rated that 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. I'm going to do a review on it probably. It was an amazing book. My favorite aspect of it was definitely the writing and the characters. The characterization was great. I really emphasized with the characters and what was happening in their lives, and I also thought the writing was beautiful, so definitely was a good book. And then I read Ender's Game, which was 324 pages. And I also really enjoyed that. I just tend to stay away from sci-fi books, but I didn't really feel sci-fi to me. It had amazing characters. The psychology of the children in a war zone was definitely great, and it made sense from a psychological perspective, and I really enjoyed the world building, and definitely the characters and the plot was my favorite aspect. And so I rated that, I think, 4 stars out of 5. Yeah, I don't really remember. I'm gonna link my Goodreads down below too, so you guys can check out what I read and stuff like that. At the end of day one, I read a total of 624 pages. So on day 2, the first book I read was Thoughtless, and that was my reread for the challenge, and that was 530 pages. I originally had read Thoughtless and I did not like it, and I wanted to reread it to see if I had changed my mind, and I didn't. I still don't like it. I have problems with it. Moving on to Effortless, which is the sequel to Thoughtless, which had been on my shelf for a really long time, and that took off another challenge off the Booktube-a-thon challenge, because one of the challenges was to read something on your shelf for a really long time, which was that. And that was 487 pages. Effortless I liked better than Thoughtless, but it's still, the series still, I had problems with it. Day 2's total pages was 1,017. Moving on to day 3, the first book that I read was Unwind, which was 335 pages. That also was a reread for me, but it wasn't the reread that I had initially said I was going to do for the challenge. It was just a book my sister had in the house. And I love that book. They have really great characters. The plot of it is really interesting and thought-provoking, and it's something that could possibly happen because it's based on fights and problems we have in society now, and theories and stuff that we do have issues with. So it's like 4 out of 5 stars, I think I rated that. And then I read Reckless, which is the last book in the Thoughtless series, and that was 544 pages. It was definitely a series that grew on me as I read, and the characters developed and they grew, and I liked Kira's choices better as the series went on. And overall, I still don't really like this series, but it was okay. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that. And then I moved on to Shatter Me, which was 338 pages. And that was a great book to get rid of my thoughtless pains that I had with that series. Tahara Mafi is just amazing. I follow her on Twitter because Christine from Pull & Bananas Books 20 said that she had really great tweets, and I followed her on Twitter, and she's amazing. She's hilarious and I love her, and you guys should follow me on Twitter. I'll link my Twitter down below, but you should also follow her because she's awesome. And her writing style is amazing. She's a really great author. She builds really great characters, and the dialogue at times was really sad when it was supposed to be, and really funny when it was supposed to be, and it was just really good. I really enjoyed it. Her writing is amazing, and I want to do a review on the series as well, so I'm not going to get that much into it, but I definitely gave it 4 out of 5. I loved it, and yeah. The total for day 3 was 1,217 pages. Moving on to day 4, I read Destroy Me, which was 103 pages. And Destroy Me is the novella between Shatter Me, the first book in the Shatter Me series, and Unravel Me, which is the sequel. I watched the review that Christine did on her channel. She had said that you definitely have to read the novella before going into the second book in order to really understand the characters better, and I loved it. I liked it better than Shatter Me. Maybe not as quite as I liked Unravel Me, but it's definitely on par with Unravel Me, maybe tied. I really, really liked it. I liked Warner. I liked the psychology behind him and his actions, and it really made me like him better. And if I hadn't read it, I honestly would have hated him throughout the rest of Unravel Me, and now I understand him better, and I know that what he's doing and what he's saying has something different behind it, and I really liked it. And if you're going to read Unravel Me and you've already read Shatter Me, definitely read the novella. And then, of course, I read Unravel Me, which was 461 pages, and I loved it. I really liked to get back inside of her head because I had been in Warner's head, and the events were really good. I'm going to do a review on this one as well, so check it out when that comes up. So the total for day 4 was 564 pages. So day 5, I only read one thing, and it was Test Ubervilles, I don't know how to say that, and it was 518 pages. Technically didn't read this, I just listened to the audiobook, which was free on YouTube. And I honestly can't really rate it because I don't remember what happened. I really zoned out because I'm not actually reading it and I'm listening to the audiobook. And the guy who was doing the audiobook had a really annoying accent, so yeah, and it's an old English classic, so that was kind of annoying. I love classics, but hearing the classic out loud, I don't like it. So I don't think I'm going to use an audiobook ever again, but it was one of the challenges. So with this book, I completed the challenge of reading a classic and also completed the challenge of listening to an audiobook. So yeah, that's 518 pages for that. On day 6, I read Losing Hope, which was 336 pages, and is the companion novel to the contemporary novel Hopeless. And I loved Hopeless. It was one of those books that really got me, but it does give you more insight to what happened. It's written in the perspective of Holder, the male love interest of the first book, and I loved it. I, in some ways, can't really decide if I liked Hopeless better or if I liked Losing Hope better, but I really loved it, and I can't really decide, and I think if you read Hopeless, you should definitely pick up Losing Hope. And then I read Entwined with You, which is the 3rd book in the Crossfire series. And initially it was supposed to be the last book, so I thought I had finished the series, but I got to the end and I was so confused because it wasn't really an ending, and then I checked Goodreads and there's 2 more books coming out, so I guess as she was writing it, she decided she wanted to make it 5 books instead of 3, which is kind of annoying because I'm not really a big fan of the series anyways, but I started it, so I want to finish it. And that was 368 pages. I don't remember if I already said that, but yeah, it's an okay series. It's one of those things that I read if I just have time to read, and it's kind of fluffy and I just don't want to feel things. So it's something I would read after a really emotionally gripping thing. Something like the first book or second book in a dystopian series, and I'm waiting for the 3rd and I can't wait, so I need to get my mind off the cliffhanger, or something like when I read the Breathing series and it emotionally devastated me and I just needed fluff to get out of it. I would read something like that. So the total for day 6 was 704 pages, and on day 7, which was the last day of Booktube-a-thon, the first book I read was The Opportunist, which is 427 pages. I absolutely hated it. I liked it until halfway through, and then everyone just started annoying me. Just every character and every decision, and it was just annoying, and I hated the ending, so yeah. And I'm really upset because it was one of those contemporaries that everyone told me I had to read, but I hated it. And then I read Angel Fall, which was 283 pages. And I'm not much of a fantasy angels type of reading person, but Christine had done a video on it during Booktubeathon and I wanted to read it and I loved it, and I'll probably be doing a review on it. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It was great and I'm really surprised how much I liked it. And then moving on to the last book I read, and I read this down to the wire. It was around 9 o'clock that I started it on the last day of Booktubeathon, and I knew that I wanted to get at least one more book in before midnight, and I finished it and I loved it. It was 332 pages. And it was one of those series that everyone told me I had to read, but anyone on Booktube had to read. Elle from All That Glitters 21 had recommended it so many times on her reviews, and I just love Elle, but it was one of those things that I had like this prejudice and I thought it was going to be childish or something like Twilight, and then I read it and I was so mad at myself for never picking it up before, and I'm absolutely in love with it, and you'll definitely be seeing the review on all of the books because I'm really hammering through them. But that was the last book in Booktubeathon, and the total for day 7 was 1,042 pages. So the total pages that I read for a whole week of Booktubeathon was 5,686. I accomplished every goal. So I accomplished the goal of 300 pages per day, which broke down to like an overall average of 2,000 something. So I accomplished that. I accomplished reading classic, an audiobook, the last book in a series. What else? Reread a book that's been on your shelf for a long time. All of the ones I accomplished. So by the end of the week, I had a total of 13 novels that I read, 1 novella that I read, and 1 audiobook that I read. Response down below on how well you did, or if you haven't joined the Booktubeathon, let me know if you are interested in doing it another time and what books you might want to read during the Booktubeathon. And yeah, check out my Goodreads and add me on Twitter and stuff. All the links are down below. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.